It was a chilly evening in the city, and the streets were mostly quiet. In a small hospital, a 20-year-old African-American nurse named Mia was finishing her late shift. Dressed in her dark green scrubs, she felt the weight of another long day. Juggling school and work, she often struggled to make ends meet, dreaming of a better life. As she stepped outside, Mia took a deep breath and decided to walk home. The air was crisp, and the dim streetlights flickered around her. Suddenly, she heard a faint groan from a dark alleyway and approached cautiously. Her heart raced as she peered into the shadows, only to discover a man lying on the ground, bleeding. With a quick glance, she recognized him as one of those intimidating figures rumored to be a powerful mafia boss. He looked Asian, with sharp features and an air of authority even in his weakened state. Fearing for her safety, but driven by her compassion, Mia rushed to his side. She pulled out her first aid kit and began to treat his wounds with steady hands. Bandaging his hands carefully, she couldn't help but notice how the injury had made him vulnerable, despite his dangerous reputation. Little did she know that this moment of kindness would change her life forever. As Mia stepped cautiously into the alley, the soft glow of the streetlights faded into darkness around her. It took a moment for her eyes to adjust, but then she spotted him. A man slumped against the cold brick wall, his shirt stained with blood. Panic gripped her heart as she realized this was no ordinary person. He was a powerful mafia boss known for his ruthless reputation in the criminal underworld. His sharp features were now shadowed by pain, and he struggled to lift his head. "Help me," he gasped weakly, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia felt an instinctive urge to run, yet the sight of his injury compelled her to stay. She knelt beside him, her training kicking in as she assessed the situation. "Who did this to you?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He clenched his jaw, refusing to answer, but she knew that time was of the essence. With trembling hands, she fished out her first aid kit and began working on his wounds. The blood flowed freely, but Mia focused on bandaging his hands, determined to save him despite the fear curling in her stomach. In that moment of silence, something unexpected passed between them, a connection forged in vulnerability and desperation that neither could ignore. Mia knelt beside the injured mafia boss, her heart racing as she fought against her fear. The sight of his blood made her stomach churn, but she pushed those feelings aside. Her training as a nurse kicked in, and she quickly opened her first aid kit, pulling out gauze and antiseptic. "Stay with me," she urged softly, looking into his eyes. For a moment, he seemed surprised by her kindness. She began to clean the wounds on his hands, careful not to cause him more pain. He winced, but there was something in his gaze that lingered, a mix of gratitude and something deeper that both intrigued and frightened her. As she bandaged his hands, she noticed how strong and capable he looked, even in such a vulnerable state. This powerful mafia boss, known for his cold demeanor, now appeared almost human in his suffering. Mia found herself wanting to help him even more, driven by compassion rather than fear. "Why would you help me?" he whispered, his voice hoarse. She paused for just a moment, realizing that her actions spoke louder than words. "Because everyone deserves help," she replied firmly. With each bandage she wrapped around his hands, Mia felt a strange connection forming between them, one forged through her bravery in the face of danger. As Mia worked, she couldn't shake the eerie sense that this man was more than just a victim. The sharp lines of his jaw and the intensity in his dark eyes hinted at a life filled with danger. Pieces of conversation she had overheard in shadowy corners of the hospital began to flood her mind, whispers about a powerful Japanese mafia boss feared by many for his ruthlessness and skill in the criminal underworld. She glanced at him critically, noting the fresh scars and tattoos peeking from beneath his torn shirt. These markings were not just symbols, they represented loyalty and betrayal woven into the fabric of his life as a mafia boss. His hands, though now being bandaged by her, had likely inflicted pain on countless others in his rise to power. Yet here he was, exposed and vulnerable, relying entirely on her for help. Mia's heart raced as she realized how deep she was stepping into dangerous waters. "What happened to you?" she asked again, more curious than fearful now. He met her gaze with an intensity that made her shiver, but also stirred an undeniable intrigue within her. "It's complicated," he murmured, the hint of a smirk playing on his lips despite the pain. In that moment, the reality of who he was sank deeper into her bones, a powerful crime lord whose influence cast shadows even in this alley. Hours later, in the dimly lit interior of a lavish mansion, the powerful Mafia boss sat in his private study, a stark contrast to the alley where Mia had found him. As he regained strength, he couldn't shake the image of her kind face and steady hands tending to his wounds. It was unusual for him to feel such a connection to anyone. Emotions were weaknesses in his world. Yet there was something about Mia that intrigued him deeply. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the wall adorned with trophies from his violent past. His men were loyal but lacked the ability to truly understand him, until her. The memory of her voice, calm and soothing despite the chaos surrounding them, filled his mind. Suddenly aware of how vulnerable he had been when she cared for him drove home a surprising realization. He wanted her near. "Find her," he commanded his right-hand man, his voice firm yet laced with an uncharacteristic urgency. "I want the nurse brought to me." The Mafia boss knew he was crossing into dangerous territory by seeking someone outside his usual circle of loyalty and power, yet something told him Mia was different. He needed to see her again, not just for gratitude, but for something deeper that stirred within him, a desire he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Mia had just finished her morning shift at the hospital when she felt a sense of unease wash over her. The events from the night before lingered in her mind, making her restless. She had been trying to forget about the wounded Mafia boss and the connection they shared, but it was impossible. Little did she know, at that very moment, his men were already on their way to find her. As she stepped out of the hospital, two imposing figures emerged from a black SUV and approached her with an air of authority that made her heart race. "Miss Mia?" one of them asked, his tone commanding. She nodded slowly, uncertainty creeping in as she realized who they were. Without giving her a chance to protest, they ushered her into the vehicle. The plush interior felt surreal against the backdrop of her ordinary life, leaving her confused and terrified. What did the powerful Mafia boss want with her? Fear clashed with intrigue as she wondered about his intentions. When they finally arrived at his mansion, Mia's breath caught in her throat. The opulence around her was overwhelming and intimidating. As she was led inside, thoughts of escape battled with curiosity about what awaited her in the presence of the man who had changed everything in just one night. As the heavy doors of the grand office swung open, Mia stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest. The opulence of the space took her breath away: rich mahogany furniture, dark velvet curtains, and a view of the city that seemed to stretch endlessly. At the far end of the room sat the Mafia boss behind an imposing desk, his presence commanding and magnetic. He looked up from a stack of papers, his dark eyes locking onto hers with a mix of gratitude and something more unsettling. "Mia," he said slowly, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Thank you for what you did for me." His voice was smooth, yet there was an underlying intensity that made her shiver. Mia felt both honored and apprehensive at his words. A part of her wanted to bask in his appreciation, but another part warned her of the power he wielded as a Mafia boss. As she stood before him, she noticed how he leaned back in his chair, as if assessing her every move. "You understand that your actions have consequences," he said softly, almost seductively. "You have drawn my attention, and I am not one to let go easily." The way he spoke hinted at control, and Mia felt a chill run down her spine. She wanted to respond with defiance, but found herself captivated by his presence, alluring yet dangerous. As days turned into weeks, Mia found herself spending more time at the mansion, tending to the Mafia boss in various ways. At first, she felt like a reluctant guest caught in a world of shadows, but slowly, she became accustomed to his presence. The hours spent together revealed layers of complexity in their relationship, a dance between the powerful Mafia boss and the compassionate nurse. Their conversations began casually, but soon evolved into deeper discussions. He would share stories about his life as a crime lord, and Mia couldn't help but find herself drawn to the passion that fueled his ambitions. Likewise, he was captivated by her unwavering spirit and kindness. She saw beyond his title and feared facade. This attraction simmered beneath the surface, an unspoken acknowledgement of their different worlds colliding. Yet, with every stolen glance and lingering touch came an understanding of danger. Mia felt exhilarated by his intensity, but also understood the risks that surrounded her. She wrestled with her growing feelings for him, knowing that love could be both a refuge and a perilous gamble in the heart of such darkness. Every encounter deepened their bond further, igniting desires neither had anticipated. In the shadows of his empire, Mia began to realize that her heart was entwined with a man who lived life on the edge, a powerful mafia boss whose world could consume her whole or set her free. As Mia and the mafia boss grew closer, whispers of jealousy began to circulate among his associates. They watched with disdain as the nurse's influence over him grew, feeling threatened by her presence in a world that thrived on loyalty and power. The other mafia members, accustomed to being in their boss's inner circle, were unsettled by how easily he seemed to let Mia into his life. One evening, during a tense meeting in the mansion's dimly lit lounge, one of the senior members voiced what many were thinking. "Boss," he began, his tone edged with disdain, "are we really going to let a nurse dictate your decisions? She's just a distraction." The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward the mafia boss, who sat calmly but visibly irritated. Mia felt the tension in the air as she stood nearby, unsure if she should intervene. The words stung, and she could see flashes of anger in the boss's eyes. "Mia is not just a distraction," he snapped, a protective edge to his voice. "She saved my life." Despite his declaration, Mia sensed the brewing conflict around her. The tension between loyalty to their leader and their jealousy of her position created an undercurrent of danger that left Mia questioning whether she was truly safe in this world of shadows. As she navigated this new reality, she realized that love could ignite both passion and resentment among those who lived by different rules. One evening, the mafia boss called Mia into his office with a serious expression that immediately put her on edge. "We have a problem," he said, his voice low and steady. A rival gang was threatening his territory, and it was clear the tension had escalated to a point where he needed to prove his strength. He turned to her, his dark eyes studying her closely. "I need you to show your loyalty." Mia felt a rush of confusion and fear. "What do you mean?" she asked, hesitating as the weight of his words sank in. He explained that he wanted her to accompany him to a meeting with some key associates, the very men who had expressed jealousy towards her before. They needed to see that she was important to him, someone he trusted. As she prepared for this unexpected test of loyalty, Mia's heart raced. She realized this wasn't just about her standing in the mafia boss's world. It was about understanding what being close to him truly meant. Would she be willing to stand by his side in front of men who might resent her? When they arrived at the meeting, Mia felt all eyes on her as she walked beside him, aware that every glance held judgment. But as she looked up at the mafia boss, determined and confident in his presence, she knew she had chosen this path, one filled with danger and undeniable attraction that could change everything for both of them. As the days passed, Mia and the mafia boss found themselves sharing more than just stolen moments. They began to reveal their true selves. One quiet evening, while seated on the terrace overlooking the city, the mafia boss opened up about his past. "I was raised in a world where trust is scarce," he admitted, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "Every decision I make could cost someone their life." Mia listened intently, her heart aching for him. She realized that behind his powerful exterior lay a man shaped by loss and betrayal. In return, she shared her own struggles, balancing work and school while dreaming of a brighter future. "I just want to make a difference," she confessed softly, her eyes shining with determination. Their conversations deepened their connection, transforming it from mere attraction to something more profound. He began to see Mia not just as a nurse or a distraction, but as someone who understood the complexities of life and love. Each shared story pulled them closer, forging an unbreakable bond amidst the chaos surrounding them. Yet, in this vulnerable exchange lay a growing tension. They belonged to different worlds where loyalty and survival often clashed. As they leaned into each other's truths, Mia realized that loving him would mean navigating a path filled with danger and uncertainty, but she couldn't deny how deeply entwined their fates had become. One evening, as the sun set over the city, casting a warm glow across the terrace, the Mafia boss turned to Mia with an intensity that made her heart race. "I want to ask you something important," he said, his voice steady yet laced with emotion. Mia's stomach fluttered with anticipation and anxiety, unsure of what was coming next. He took a deep breath and continued, "You've become my strength and my anchor in this chaotic world. I cannot imagine my life without you." His gaze locked onto hers, filled with sincerity. "Mia, will you be my wife?" Shock coursed through her, leaving her momentarily speechless. This was both a romantic gesture and a powerful declaration from a man who commanded respect and fear as a Mafia boss. The weight of his words sank in. She realized that marrying him would tie her to his dangerous world, a world filled with enemies and perilous stakes. "Are you sure?" she finally managed to ask, her voice trembling slightly. She could feel the tension in the air as she considered the implications of his proposal. "This life, it's not safe." He nodded, his expression unwavering. "I know, but together, we can face anything. You have my heart, Mia. I want to make you mine." As she looked into his eyes, she saw both love and a hint of threat, a reminder of the challenges they would face together if she accepted his proposal. Mia stood on the terrace, the city lights twinkling below as she contemplated the weight of the proposal. The Mafia boss had laid his heart bare, yet she found herself at a crossroads, torn between her past and an uncertain future. Her instincts whispered to return to her old life, a world filled with familiar comforts, her nursing career, and the safety of routine. But as she looked into his eyes, filled with passion and promise, she wondered if that life could ever satisfy her again. Their bond had forged something unlike anything she had ever known. It was intense and thrilling, but draped in shadows that could consume her whole. The notion of becoming a Mafia boss's wife sent chills through her. She understood the risks involved, not just for herself, but also for those she loved. What would my life look like? Mia thought, battling images of danger intertwined with love. Life in his world meant constant vigilance and navigating alliances, but also the exhilarating thrill of standing beside a powerful man who cared for her deeply. Ultimately, this moment was hers to own. With every pulse in her heart, she felt the choice carve itself into her being, to either turn back towards the safety of familiarity or embrace the fire that was the Mafia boss and all that he promised, a dangerous yet intoxicating love that could transform her life forever. In the days that followed her decision, Mia embraced her new life as the wife of the powerful Mafia boss. The wedding was a lavish affair, filled with glitz and glamour, yet shadows loomed over them, reminding her of the challenges ahead. As she stood by his side, adorned in a beautiful gown, Mia felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Love blossomed in unexpected places, but so did danger. Settling into her role within his world was not easy. Every glance from his associates reminded her of the resentment simmering beneath their polished exteriors. Mia quickly learned the complexities of life as a Mafia boss's wife, balancing love and loyalty while navigating alliances and rivalries. Nights were filled with whispered conversations and strategic decisions that blurred the lines between safety and peril. Yet through it all, Mia found strength in their bond. She learned to trust her instincts, using her compassion and courage to stand firm against the whispers of jealousy that followed her. As they faced challenges together, it became clear that their love was both a sanctuary and a battleground. Ultimately, Mia reflected on how far she had come, from a simple nurse to a woman intertwined in a dangerous world. The path ahead was uncertain, but she knew she would face it head-on, ready for whatever trials awaited them, embracing love in its most unexpected form.